Okay, so I am going to talk you through these problems from your notes today. Hopefully you've given them a try and you're just here to check your answers, but if you're feeling stuck on any of them, you can kind of scroll through, fast forward, and get to the questions that you are wondering about. So when I read this problem, it says that segment BD is a median, and I know that a median crosses through a vertex and a midpoint. So because this is a midpoint, I know these two segments are congruent, and I'm going to mark them accordingly. Then I'm going to go ahead and label all of my quantities. So segment AB is 5x minus 10, segment AD is 4x minus 3, segment DC is 3x plus 5. And because I've already marked that these are congruent quantities, I actually can see my equation very easily, which is that 4x minus 3 is equal to 3x plus 5. Those are equal quantities because of the median's properties. And when I solve that, I get x equals 8. And it asks me to find AB, so I'm just going to take that expression for AB and substitute my x, and that gives me AB must be 30 units long. All right, this next one, it says that RM, line RM, is a perpendicular bisector. So I know that perpendicular bisectors go ahead and split the segment into two equal parts. They are perpendicular. And from my previous unit's knowledge, I know that anything that's on the perpendicular bisector is going to be equal in distance to those two endpoints. So these two segments are also equal. So I've labeled all of my relationships. Now I'm going to put my quantities on here. So this is 2x minus 3. This is 6x minus 27. And MB is 2x plus 7. And so just like last time, I see my equation very clearly. I see that these two parts are equal parts. So I set my two equations equal to each other. And then when I solve, I get that x equals 6. Now that I know x equals 6, I can go ahead and substitute in to find the lengths that I can find. When I substitute 6 in here, I get, let's see, 12 minus 3, which is 9, and this has to also be 9. And then this has to be 2 times 6 is 12 plus 7 is 19. So it's asked me to find AM. Well, I already have marked that these two segments are equal, so AM also has to be equal, or MA also has to be equal to 19. The last question asks us to find the perimeter of triangle ARM. So I'm going to highlight that for myself. And what I see is I know 2 of the 3 sides. I just need to find this third side so that I can find the perimeter. And because this is a right triangle, I can go ahead and use my Pythagorean theorem to find that third side that we don't know. So I'm going to substitute my leg plus the leg that I don't know squared equals the hypotenuse squared. So a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And I'm going to solve this out algebraically. So I get rm squared equals 280. I take the square root of both sides. And just so that we can practice, I am going to simplify that radical. I can divide 280 by 4, and the square root of 4 is 2. So I get 2 square root 70, because 280 divided by 4 was 70. And I don't think that simplifies anymore. And so, but that wasn't what it asked me. It asked me for the perimeter. So to do my perimeter, I need to add up the 3 sides. The 3 sides are 9, 2 root 70, and 19. And I can only combine my like terms, 9 and 19. So that gives me 28 plus 2 root 70 as my final perimeter. Now, because this didn't specify, it would be okay if you had typed this into your calculator and gotten a decimal, or typed this into your calculator and gotten a decimal and given your answer as a decimal. Okay, so now we switched gears into a little bit of coordinate practice. This question asks us to find the altitude from A. I know that an altitude connects a vertex perpendicular to the other side. So I am going to start at A, and I'm going to draw a perpendicular to the other side as best as I can. It doesn't have to be perfect, but I draw my altitude in, and that's going to help me set up my equation. So I need to find a point that I know is on this line, and I need to find the slope of this line. So the point that I know is on this line, the only one that I actually know, because I don't know where this point is I know that it goes through the vertex A. So the point I know is -2, 1. And then the slope, I know that the slope of BC I could find, right? That would be this slope right here. And so I could find that slope of BC. And then my slope of the altitude is going to be perpendicular to that. So I'm going to go ahead and find that slope of BC first. So B is -4, 7. C is 8, -3. This went down 10 and up 12. So my slope for BC is -10/12, which simplifies to, let's see, -5/6. Now that's the slope of this teal line right here. It's not the slope of our altitude. Our altitude is going to be perpendicular to that slope. So I'm going to take the opposite reciprocal. So 6/5 is the slope of our altitude. And then the last thing to do is just to go ahead and put that into point slope form. So y minus the y value of the point equals the slope times x minus the x value. And when I subtract a negative, I get x plus 2. So there's the equation of the line that has this altitude right here. All right, now this question asks us to find the equation of the line containing the median. So I know that a median connects a vertex to a midpoint. So it is not perpendicular. So I have to be cautious about which two properties a median has, and it connects a vertex to a midpoint. So the vertex is point B, and the midpoint is the midpoint of the opposite segment. So I'm going to draw it in. It's about right here. And the median is going to connect those two. So that's what my median would look like. So I'm trying to write an equation of this line. So I have a point and a slope. Now the cool thing about this is that there are actually 2 points that I can find. One point that I know is on this line is the vertex. So I'm just going to go ahead and put that in there, -4, 7. But another point that I can find that I know is on this line is the midpoint of AC. And so I can find that as well. I'm going to find that midpoint. So point A is -2, 1. Point C is 8, -3. And I want to find the middle of those. So this would be 3 would be 5 away from -2 and 5 away from 8. And then here we have -1 would be 2 away from 1 and 2 away from -3. So I actually know this second point, 3, -1, is on the line. So I know that there are 2 points on this line that I can find. And so when I'm trying to find the slope of this line, I can't use this perpendicular slope because it's not perpendicular here. But whenever I know 2 points on a line, I can just calculate the slope between them. So I'm going to calculate that slope between those 2 points. So my first point was -4, 7, point B. And my second point that I know is on the line is that midpoint that I calculated, 3, -1. And so I'm going to calculate that slope between them. So this one went down 8, and this one went up 7. So my slope is -8/7. And I do not take the opposite reciprocal because I'm not trying to do anything perpendicular. That is the slope between point B and the midpoint here. So that is the calculated slope. So I don't have to do anything else except for put it into my point slope form. So y minus the y value of the point. Now I could choose this point or this point as my point. It really wouldn't matter. I'm just going to go ahead and use this one, but it really makes no difference. So y minus the y value of this point equals the slope times x minus a negative 4, so plus 4. If you wrote it with the other point, it would look like this. Y plus 1 equals negative 8/7 times x minus 3. That would also be correct. So either one of those answers would be true.